Walking into an episode titled Goodbye just had me feeling like everyone was going to die and that was gonna be it. This episode would wipe out the squad, Lena and company would be left to deal with the mess that they put themselves in, and maybe by the end of episode 11, Lena and a couple survive the invasion when they no longer have 86 to use as meat shields. So to see an episode where Hsieh gets to finally put his brother to rest, Lena rises to the occasion and says, "Screw the rules. We got mortars. I'm going to use them. I'm going to blackmail this girl, who now I know has an emotional connection to Hsieh, and I'm going to make sure she actually does something with her life." And you end the episode not with death, but with something I think maybe a bit worse for her. You don't know where they are now, because they crossed over to essentially the gray zone, where they can't be monitored, so you have no idea, are they about to get killed or are they about to return to their victory? And to see the closing moments where Lena is realizing what's about to happen, where the connection is going to be cut off because they're going into territory that doesn't reach her para device, so she's running and rushing just to keep that connection active. It's one of the most powerful scenes that 86 has shown to date. And I've always been an avid supporter of Lena's character. I've always believed in her character. She made mistakes, for sure, but when you're raised in a republic that teaches you to literally treat them like vermin, and when you try to call out the behavior, no one supports you, she's gonna make mistakes. She's going to treat them as objects by not asking them their name, things like that, and she can seem like a hypocrite at first, but there was no malice in her behavior. She was someone who was misguided, and she was ignorant, but she never felt like she was gonna be a character who wanted to make herself feel better. Oh, I gave them a present, so now I can go to sleep at night feeling like I gave to charity, right? She's not one of those rich people who give a homeless person a $100 bill and says, "You know what? I did a good deed," as she goes to bed with $1 billion in her bank account, right? No, she was never that type of character. But to see her in this episode, and looking at her transition over the 9 episodes we've watched with her, this is one of the most badass characters. I mean, she's emotional for obvious reasons. Literally everything around her is crumbling. But she is one of the strongest for sure. And it's interesting because I was talking to so many people in last week's comment section, and the agreement was they're screwed. And I still think they're screwed in more ways than one. But it never crossed my mind that she would blackmail her friend by using emotional weaknesses in this cold-hearted person to then say, "Hey, that boy Hsieh, it's easy to do the research, it's easy to put the puzzle together, you're going to help me to use the things that are forbidden," because she's right, what can happen? Maybe they'll strip her of her rank, she's not going to die from doing it, and even if she did, I'm pretty sure she would gladly give her life to give them an honest-to-go shot. And as we saw in this episode, had she not done that attack, they would have all died. Hsieh himself would have died without her help, not to mention all the reinforcements coming to the other 4 there. So it was incredible to see how far she's come and how frightening she can be. We've seen her cute, we've seen her sad, and we've seen what her serious mode was. She confronts people, but she never really gets anywhere. We saw the first true glimpse of a general in the making who does not take shit from anyone. And depending on what happens to the 86, who comes back, if any of them come back from that undetectable zone, I think we're about to experience a Lena that even no one could have predicted from the beginning of this show. Her character writing is absolutely fantastic, and the first half of this episode being essentially a suicide mission, and to see the direction they were going was pretty frightening. I mean, the number of times characters are saying, "Hsieh, just ask us for help. Like, seriously, that's all you have to do," but he's trying to take the burden on himself, and they don't even listen to him. They're saying, "We're going to hold off the reinforcements," and every time it looks like it's going okay, 1,000,000,000 times more comes up. It was a completely helpless situation, and just with a simple artillery airstrike from Lena, we saw the difference. Night and day. Imagine if the Republic would have used them as actual soldiers rather than objects. You can just look at the bots that they used. You can literally carve out their metal with a combat knife. Looking at the Legion, they're literally, not only does Daddy have money, Daddy's money is basically like Iron Man's suit. That shit takes a beating and a half. Imagine if they had properly funded mechs. Imagine if they actually had artillery support, the Republic actually had airstrikes to support them. It would have been a completely different playing field, but racism, discrimination, prejudice, all this shit just pushed them into this mindset that will use them till the war's over, will kill them, and no one can say we got our hands dirty. We had a bloodless war because it was simply machines. Absolutely toxic, but I mean, it's night and day seeing what Lena was able to do with the situation. And I love the idea of the bluff, firing basically blanks at the brother so they could run in and rescue Hsieh, and then actual fire. There was some cool shit with the Legion, I have to say. We've seen it when the Legion had been, I guess you could say wounded would be the best term, and you saw like some weird, Silver Surfer shit coming out of the machines. But similarly, they can use that exact same fluid to manifest, as we saw with Shin's brother, hands to try to strangle your brother and read him a bedtime story. The whole brother stuff was fantastic. I love how, in his corrupted and warped mind, he was saying, I'm just going to remove you from your mundane physical body, and I'll be a good big brother. He was completely indoctrinated, and to see the transition from not only the brother's perspective, but also Shin's perspective. I love how he starts to see like, oh, you're a grown-up man now, I don't need to care for you, you'll be okay. And from Shin's side, the horror that he used to see, the blur over his eyes, the strangling, it became a brother once again. I think the visual directing and the audio components to this show is so good. The soundtrack is self-explanatory, it's inspiring, it's emotional, but the voice actors, from their screams to their heartbreak to even just the sound effects of kind of like the world crumbling around them, the facial expressions just like they kill you when you see it. And the fact that we had Lena, purposely almost destroy her eyesight just so that she could tap into these people so that she could get a better view. Jesus Christ. I mean, back when the first few episodes of this dropped, I focused heavily on Lena's character because up until that point, she was the main focus, and then obviously they spread it to be about a 50-50 split, Shin's side and Lena's side. And I used to have so many comments in the beginning, either like ranting that I focused too much on a basic supporting character, which they meant Lena, or that she wasn't interesting enough. I would love to see where those people are now, because she is just as important as, the 86's side. And while she's definitely made mistakes, I mean, just look at the moment when she's talking to them and she has all the sticky notes. She doesn't view them anymore as just, the Undertaker or this or that. She calls them by their names. She may not have a photo of them, but when she's speaking to them, she's looking at these drawings based on the descriptions they gave. So she always treats them as a human, and she might have got herself a jail sentence for what she just did because she values them more than anything else. But given the fact that her uncle is so high up, I imagine she'll get away with a tap on the wrist, though, depending on how much she really pushes back against, I'm just waiting for her to start her own military and say, screw the damn Republic, I'm out of here. But it'll be interesting to see where episodes 10 and 11 are going to go. I was told last week, and over the weeks I've heard it, but last week was when I really started looking into it. But supposedly this was originally written as a single novel that then expanded into more, which is why this core feels like it's a self-contained story. But I'm really excited to see what they'll be able to do and branch off the narrative when we do get that part 2 in fall, because there's definitely a lot of possibilities with the world despite this feeling like a self-contained story. And I'm really excited to see if any of these characters get to make it to part 2 and where we're going to go from here. But let me know your thoughts, feelings, as always, down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.